And good evening, fellow explorers of space and time, and welcome back to the Monday Writing Science Fiction and Fantasy stream. Huzzah! We are here! It's good to be back at the beginning of the week. Have you survived Monday? Well, some of you have, because you're in the same time zone as me. I know that some others are also in other time zones, and it's not the end of Monday yet. So, if you're in America, you're still probably either coping with lunchtime. Or possibly mid-afternoon, late afternoon, depending on where you are. So, yeah, you'll get there. Okay, Monday will come to an end, it'll be fine. And if you're in Australia or something like that, then you're probably up at a crazy time of night. On this circular planet thing. It's very, very confusing. Anyway, we are back, we're here. It's 8 a.m? What am I talking about? 8 p.m. in the UK. And we're all good. So welcome one and welcome all. So who have we got on the stream? We have Nim Disquin, we have Stefan Kuros, we have Harkonnen, we have Dan Technic, we have Wintermute. Hello Wintermute GB, Haunted Loaf, Commander Terakov, TS Chage, hello. Sophie sent going well. Hello, first time chat. Good to see you. Gigi is here. Lalandra is here. DJ Scribby is here. Alan is here. Excellent. Commander Tragic Blue is here. And Big 39 GT is here as well. And Kilt Dark Jedi, hello as well. So fantastic. Anyway, it's lovely to have you all aboard. And fellow wafflers. And Sean is here as well. It's always good to have Sean. And March how do you pronounce? Why can't everybody have a sensible name? Marchogian. I'll give that a try. My name's Drew. It's very, very straightforward, very easy. Anyway, welcome one, welcome all. We are a very friendly, very small corner of the internet to do with the whole business of writing and authoring. Mary Chogion. Mary Chogion. Mary Chogion. Actually, I can say that. Mary, have a brandy, Drew. It helps. That's very good advice. All of the time, actually. Artemis Legion. Been a while since I've been here. Anyway, welcome back. We are chuntering on. We are chuntering on as we do. Monday evenings are talking about writing, authoring, creative stuff in general, but mostly to do with writing, mostly science fiction and fantasy. But a lot of the stuff that we cover is will be generically applicable to writing and authoring anything. So if you at any stage, of course, have any problems, not problems, not an agony aunt, sorry. If you have any questions, what am I talking about? If you have any questions about writing, authoring, publishing, manuscripts, editing, all those kind of things, all right, to do with the whole writing process, we will do our best to answer them. None of us are by any means experts. We're all sort of just working our way through these kind of things. Some of us have published things. Some of us are still aspiring to publish things. Some of us have written. It's not a very good advert, is it? Some of us have wrote stuff. Some of us have written things, got them published, and we're all at various stages of this journey, and we're all trying to achieve different things. So just it's a very relaxed place to generally chunter around the whole idea of writing and authoring and all that kind of good stuff. And there is a bit of waffle. It has been known for me to get slightly sidetracked, particularly at the beginning of my stream, because there's stuff to talk about. Then it's a friendly conversation down the pub. Is kind of where it is. Tech Sergeant Chen. That's what that stands for. Red particle cannons or blue particle cannons? Tech Sergeant Chen. Right, I'm going to have to try and remember that. Okay. Alan says he's provided an ending to a story by Matthew Cross, which he published on his website. He also published a collaboration with Glenn. I haven't seen Glenn actually this evening. Is Glenn about? Where is he? So that's good. Chris Viking is here as well, and was in Mitchell 21 as well. Hello, good to see you. Thank you for all the new folks who are popping into the stream as well, which is always nice to see. So. Like I said, we're very relaxed. We're very chill. The idea is to kind of promote writing. Now, one of the things that is going on at the moment, of course, is NaNoWriMo, which is something that I know very little about because I've never taken part. Now, there are a few people on the stream who do know about it, and I think the idea being to write a story of a certain length, quite a big length actually. Alan knows all about this. How long is the NaNoWriMo? What's the target you've got to aim for? It's quite high. Is it was it 40k words or even higher than that? I can't remember what it was, but it was quite a lot. And I was like, I'm not sure I could manage that. So 50k words. There you go. Alan says 50k. So 50k words in a month. Okay, and that's actually quite a lot. 50k words in a month is sort of more. It's about 12.5k a week, isn't it? Which is getting close to 2,000 words a day. Which is pretty darn good going, to be honest. And that's on top of any kind of day job that you might have, which most writers, of course, do, because otherwise they'd starve to death and die a horrible way in a corner. So there we go. Artemis Legion, this advice good for a TTRPG campaign? Probably yes. Some of it will transfer across. I mean, to be honest, you may have to be the judge of that yourself, because I've never written an RPG, and although I do know people who have. So, and a lot of that stuff is in depth, very very in depth actually. And an RPG is a mighty tome of information. You need an awful lot of stuff, but I think quite a lot of the stuff does sort of apply as well. So, especially if your RPG is waffle based, yeah. So I think you'll find bits and pieces. Now we generally try and pick a topic for the evening. There is a topic. We will eventually get to the topic, but it's good to just sort of it's. I don't know about you guys. One of the frustrations I find, although I do have a local writers group, it's not that local, and there aren't any other people in my local group who in quotes appreciate science fiction and fantasy very much. They're quite serious chaps and chapesses. And I can it may surprise you this, I can go into serious mode every so often, but it's probably not my natural place. I'm a bit mischievous and a bit I do like to talk about deep things quite a lot of the time, but not all the time. And the deep topics I like to get into are very kind of existential things about the meaning of life and science fiction, whether we will discover aliens on other planets, all that kind of stuff, rather than the more contemporary issues that a lot of writers will focus on outside of science fiction fantasy. Apologies for the ding dong, by the way. You possibly can hear that. That's just my doorbell. My wife is doing a thing this evening, so the doorbell has got no significance to this stream. It's just something that's going on in the background. Alan says he's ahead of schedule. He's nearly on 16,000 words. Wow. I'm quite in awe. You see, the thing is, and this is another variation on how you write. I mean, I can't write that fast most of the time. If I have a really special effort, I can do that, but most of the time I can't. And I spend most of my time plotting out my stories, and then when I'm writing, I'm quite structured. And that means that sometimes my word count is very, very small. It's a space doorbell. Yes, it is. It's the airlock. Arrakis 2012 07 Drew, and I love your waffles. Thank you very much. My waffles are legendary. It depends. I mean, I don't think I will ever do NaNoWriMo, because the idea of trying to write that much stuff in a month, I just wouldn't be able to do it. So it's that's not really me. And if I was going to put that much effort into writing something, there'd have to be a really, really, really good reason for it, other than I've written a story. That's a huge amount. That's 1/12 of my writing time per year, obviously. I'd have to divert that into something kind of meaningful for me. But what is meaningful for you as a writer is very much your bag, okay? And don't let anybody else tell you what we're. There was a horrible. I mean, not horrible, but there was a young. I assume youngish lady on Twitter that I encountered today, just because I scrolled through the Am Writing and writing community tweets, And there was a I assume it was a young lady, I mean, obviously, on the internet, nobody knows you're a dog, right? You know, that old quote. But yeah, the icon, the picture is a youngish looking lady. And I assume it's her. I have no idea. It might not be. I'm one of these people who actually takes a picture of myself and puts that as my kind of social media icon. I know that doesn't work for a lot of people, but maybe that's just an old school thing. But anyway, let's assume for the sake of argument she was a young lady. But she put up this tweet, which basically said, "I've just been lectured at for an hour by my father-in-law, who's telling me to grow up and stop writing stories about elves." And I thought, what a horrible thing to have to put up. You know, a family member, father-in-law, I suppose, kind of, slightly estranged family, has told somebody, has lectured them for an hour to basically don't write and don't indulge your creative side. So I just sort of added a tweet at the bottom. I said, don't listen to him. Go and do some writing. It's the right thing to do. The things, I mean, why does somebody get off on telling somebody not to be creative? Yeah, exactly, Chris. That's pretty much that's what I was thinking, but I thought I'll type it without the swear words. The number of people I've been told who I said, well, I was maybe I would have written once, but I was told years ago that I wasn't any good, or that I shouldn't do it, or it was a waste of time. So, what do you mean by a waste of time? So many of us are conditioned that we must do a proper job, or it's not proper work to go writing or creating and stuff. If it's not proper work, there would be no movies, there'd be no books, there'd be no art, there'd be no music, there'd be nothing worthwhile in this world at all. We need art, we need creativity. So do not, for God's sake, everybody, never, ever, ever be ashamed of indulging your creative stuff. Okay, it's important. It's really, 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 really important that we do it. So there we go. It's a space doorbell. Sophie St. Going Well has put me an image of what appears to be a cat doing some writing. Excellent. Okay, fantastic. The Hitchhiker Towards the Universe. What I'm doing this year doesn't seem quite as coherent as last year's book, which I quite liked. Well, you see, I'd find NaNoWriMo too constrictive. But that's just me, so I don't want to diss it, because an awful lot of people find it very encouraging. And I think if you're maybe looking for something that basically says, right, you must write 50k words in a month, and then it pushes you into doing it, then maybe that's a good thing. That's not how I get my motivation. I'd find all sorts of excuses for why I wouldn't do it. That's my problem. And Alan's going to combine his with last year to make a full length. Okay, well, that's very cool. That's good. Yeah, it's petunias in his garden and a rather surprised looking whale. So many people want to be gatekeepers, says Kilted Dark Jedi. I kind of suffered from this a little bit, and I'm not dissing my parents at all, because they, over the years, they were very supportive. At last, my dad has long passed away, but my mum's still around, and she's been very supportive. However, I will say, at the end of my schooling, when as I was getting into my kind of as they were then, O levels. For those of you in the UK who remember them, GCSEs they're called now, and and A levels. It's right. What are you going to do with your life? And I kind of knew that the writing stories about elves and spaceships probably wasn't the answer they were looking for. Okay, so I dutifully went into did the degree in computers, and to be fair, got a decent career out of it, and got jobs and ended up with money and all sorts of things that were quite useful. But which does allow me, at least now, to kind of, I suppose, more indulge in my creative side. But I do wonder what would have happened had I been space elves. Let's mix it all up. Had I pursued the writing thing much earlier than I did, where would I be now? Would I be doing something different? Would my life have turned out differently? All those possibilities. Who knows? We just don't know, do we? We can never go back and change things and find out. But don't if you're a younger person watching the stream, don't be afraid of following your instincts. Okay, I've said many times now. I'm somewhat older. Okay, I'm certainly not the oldest on the stream. I'm not gonna call anybody out by saying, oh yeah, you should go and check out so and so because he's well ancient. But I am 51. All right, so I've been there and done that a few times. Made quite a few errors in my life. And had some successes as well. So it's all experience. But I will say this to the younger folk: for God's sakes, follow your dreams. Okay, don't just get sucked into. Hey, says Commander Terraformer. Oh yeah, the old guy. Hello. Don't get sucked into mediocrity just because it's safe. For God's sake, particularly when you're young. Okay, when you're young, you've got plenty of time to take some risks. All right, so take some risks. Don't fall for the, well, you must get a sensible job and you must buy a house and you also have a sensible car and you should put some money away for the future because it's really, really important. Okay, there is time for that. Okay, and there is a place for all that, but do that creative thing. Go and climb the mountain, go and trek down the river, do the mad stuff. All right, when you're young, even if it turns out to be a bit of a disaster. Okay. You'll have a story, okay? Do some crazy stuff, and absolutely. I'm just thinking of this young girl. If young girl she was, don't let anybody rain on your parade in terms of creativity. Okay, you may have the next amazing story that we all need to hear, we all need to read. If you've got a creative streak, do not bury it. Do not bury it. It will not do your mental health any good. Actually, if you want to create, there'll be something inside you that sits there and festers and makes you feel uncomfortable with your boring day job if you're a creative person and you try and suppress it. Okay, as advice from somebody who's been a creative person and has in times past tried to suppress it. It doesn't work. Okay, there's something inside you that calls to you as a writer or a composer or whatever it happens to be, and if you don't follow it, it'll niggle at you throughout the rest of your life. So do the crazy things. Okay, do the crazy things. Old guy here, says Glenn. Age is just a number. That's what we like to say. So Alan says Eddie Jones, rugby coach, has suggested that Emma Raducanu isn't paying enough attention to tennis. If she wants to get involved in fashion television, what's it to? Well, didn't she just win some amazing tennis thing? That's right. Oh dear. So there we go. So be take risks, do the crazy stuff. Okay, it's important. So that's good. So anyway, so I'll continue to try and. It just annoys me actually that somebody in more of an adult. I don't know how in this particular young lady's case how grown up she is, or because you don't know. Okay, but the fact that there's a father-in-law. I'm thinking, if I was to, I'm not in a situation where I am a father-in-law, but if I had a young daughter-in-law who was, let's say, about 20, and I'm here at 51 saying, oh, well, stop talking about elves and, stop that silly nonsense about being a famous writer and all that kind of stuff, and get yourself a proper job. What a soul-crushingly horrible thing for me to say in a situation like that. I hope I would never say something like that. I'd hope it'd be in a situation. Well, yeah. You write it, I'll read it. That would be far better. So there we go. Do that creative stuff, and never grow up properly. Don't be childish. I haven't got much time for being childish, but childlike. Oh yes, we can do that. That'd be really, really good. Wazzy Mitchell 21. I'm struggling at reading books. I can't quite focus on what I'm reading. Any tips on how to reduce that? It's difficult. We're in an oversaturated time, I think, where it's really, really hard to find a space to read. I struggle now, and I'm a massive book reader, but day to day, the only time I generally find I'm able to read is pretty much before I go to bed, unless the house is quiet and everybody else is out, which is really, really rare. I think you have to. Well, I suppose my advice is to find a regular spot or time where you can carve out a piece of time regularly where you can say, okay, I've got half an hour here. That's going to be my regular space to do some reading. Maybe that is just before you go to bed or go to sleep. When things are quiet, when things are calm, when there aren't any other distractions. If there's mayhem going on around your life at any day, and talking about parents, talking about kids, talking about work, all those sort of things. If that's all pinging off around you, it's impossible to read, because you need just time away, and that might mean going out somewhere else. I used to love reading on trains when I was commuting. That was a good place to do things. It's I think a lot of it is about finding your finding a place to allow time for reading to happen. Reading doesn't work when there's noise, and reading doesn't work when there's distraction, and reading doesn't work when there's danger of phones going off and all that kind of stuff. It's hard. It's much harder today than it's ever been, because we've got so much flashing lights and stuff everywhere. So that's definitely a problem. Thank you for this subscription there, Crimson Dream, much appreciated. And an evening interlopers. So yes, fellow No Man's Sky players, good to see you. So that was it, Mitchell. That would be my tip: is can you carve out a piece of quiet time first? Because if you can and do that on a regular basis, then put your reading into something like that. Chris says, not writing much for a few years because I felt I wasn't putting out anything that was really worth it. When I tried to get started again, there was a block in my mind. The anthology project really helped me. So sometimes it's just pushing through that. I find that personally. So, I've written 9 books now. And, when I'm faced with a blank page, I do sometimes go, quite hard to get started, and I get tense, I get anxious in a weird sort of way, because I'm at the moment I'm in the process of working out the plot to my next series of books, and there's this strange anxiety as I'm writing the plot. I haven't got it to work yet, and I'm part of my brain's going, well, Drew, you've just started writing it, how can you possibly, it's not finished yet, you're still developing it, so of course it's not going to work yet, you haven't got all the bugs out of it. But the other part of my brain is going, wait, it doesn't fit, it's not quite right, and I haven't got that character right, and the beginning isn't correct, and the whole overall part of my brain's sort of spinning around on this, and it's like, just calm down, Drew, it's okay, we'll get there. So there's like dichotomy going on in my head. So I think you've got to be, there's a certain sense of discipline you've got to instill in yourself, to just say, okay, just calm down, we'll get there, just write some stuff, okay, just write some stuff. There's another tweet actually today I got from the Am Writing community, which was another lady who I do follow. I've seen her for a few times. She basically said, I'm writing this stuff and I'm not sure where it's going. Sometimes it's sometimes it's spooky, sometimes it's funny, sometimes it's tragic, and all these sort of things, and I don't know what I'm doing, and it's a disaster. It's kind of like, just calm down, it's okay, it'll be fine, just keep writing, get some material together, and then look at it as a whole. We can get very, very anxious about writing, which is odd, because it's a very private activity, at least at the start. When we're writing something, nobody else can see us, okay? We're just typing words into the computer, it's perfectly safe, but there's this, it's not quite right, it's not working, this doesn't feel like it's fitting in there. And this is the joy and the heartache of the whole creative process, is that it causes us real emotional, I don't know quite what the word is, angst almost, and you second guess, exactly, Glenn, you second guess yourself, and you go, this is useless, and I can't write, why am I doing this, I'm totally rubbish, and you expend all this information, all this energy and this emotion into the writing process. And unless somebody else is a writer, they don't really get your battle. Just literally typing a story into the computer, or if you're really old-fashioned, I don't know how many of you, I'm sure not many people use typewriters anymore, but it must have been the same. It must have been even harder when you couldn't edit things. Today we're spoiled with Word and Scrivener and all the other tools that we've got. Because I'll just move that down. That bit there is quite good. I'll move that down. I'll edit that. I'll just chop and change that. Whereas, of course, if you've got a typewriter, you retype the whole thing. That must have been an absolute how you did it in the olden days. At least with the word processor, you can move stuff around and fix things really relatively easy. But there is that anxiety of when you're writing, you're looking at it thinking, this isn't quite right, this doesn't feel quite good enough, this isn't quite how I expected it to go, I haven't quite grasped the feel, I can't quite get the description right, I can't get the sense of the tension, I can't get the characters to do what I want, and there's an anxiety, there's a tenseness, there's a frustration in that process, which I think writers all understand that it's there, and as you're writing, it's kind of like then that almost funnels back into sort of negative emotions. Oh my God, I can't do this. I'm not a writer. You get all that sort of panic that sort of sets in. And I suppose what I'm saying here is that is perfectly normal. All right, that is perfectly normal. Every other writer gets it. Okay. It's not something you need to be worried about. It's something you need to channel. It's something you need to anticipate. Something you need to cope with, because it's perfectly normal reaction. It feels like it shouldn't be a perfectly normal reaction because we all have this sort of idealized thing of writing. Well, I'm just gonna chill out in my study. There's a beautiful view of the countryside over there. I'm just going to pull the curtain back, get a bit of inspiration as a sunbeam bounces off the local pond, and turn back to my computer. There's a cup of tea there. There's a couple of biscuits. I'll just take a quick sip, and then bang! There goes 1,000 words. Look at that amazing prose on the screen. That never happens. Okay, that whole dream that everybody writing. Look at me tapping away on my keyboard. Everything's blissful. Nah. Okay. Very, 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 very occasionally, maybe, but no, that doesn't happen very often, I'm afraid. But it's a real issue, and it can be tough, particularly if you're on your own, I think. And if you don't have contact with other people. That's kind of one of the reasons I like doing this stream, is that it's an area to hang out and just express those issues that we have with writing. Being a creative person is difficult because an awful lot of people don't see the world the same way we do, because they're 90% of the world are consumers. Okay, 90% of the people in the world are consumers, and that's not wrong, because without consumers there'd be no point creating anything. But most people will not get the tensions and the contradictions and all the angst that's involved with creating something. They will struggle to appreciate that problem, whereas we'll get it. So that's quite good. Need to stop listening to my inner critic. So yes, you've got to get it in perspective. The inner critic can be useful, okay, but you mustn't let it overwhelm you. I think that's the key thing. I think it's hard to get the imagination right these days. It is. It's getting. I mean, it always has been getting harder and harder to be. Inventive and new and clever and like that. But I think it's different people will always bring something new to it. So my advice in all those things is always write. There's two pieces of advice. In fact, I was given as a writer a long time ago, which I found incredibly useful. And I still think they're relevant. One is write the book that you want to read. Okay, so if there's a sci-fi story and you think, well, they haven't done that, or they haven't done this combination of these things in a sci-fi story or a fantasy story, go write that one, because that's the one that, if you want to read it, then it's the best book you're going to create. That's what I've done with my reading and writing. Is I've gone, I like that. So for example, I like Star Trek, I like Star Wars, I like Battlestar Galactica, I like Lord of the Rings, I like Dune, I like all of these things. And they've definitely been an inspiration to me in all sorts of different ways. But what I write is the story I want to tell, because I think I want to take a bit of that, and I want to take a bit of that, and but what I want to do is this whole thing, and that's my thing. So there we go. Chris Falcon says, I tried to do back in the day. I was most creative late in the evening and at night, so I had to lock myself in the laundry room in the cellar because my typewriter would have been a bit late at night. Excellent. I could just see Chris in the darkened cellar with a candle. Excellent. Why does it have to be normal? It's the price we pay as being creative types, I'm afraid, Glenn. That's the problem. First time chat from Donny Lucifer says, cool hat. Excellent. Thank you very much for my cool hat. The hat is a bit of a... Well, it's a long... It's become part of the uniform now. I am conscious that really you shouldn't be wearing a hat indoors. But of course I am travelling through space, as you can see by my amazing background. So technically I'm not indoors. At least I'm not in the virtual sense. So anyway, so the hat is... many writers have hats. So there aren't enough people wearing hats nowadays. So more hats. Tolstoy used to write with a load of crossing out arrows, almost unreadable. Then his wife used to rewrite it out neatly every day. See, that's... Yes, I suppose if you have supplementary stuff like that. I mean, you used to have strikeout options on typewriters and things, but you then have to type the paragraph again, which would be really annoying. Glenn says, there's so much more media now. There are many more ideas that feel like cliche because there are just so many more ideas out there. And so many more ways to consume it. One of the things that is very prevalent now is just how easy it is to get hold of so much stuff. I mean, if you look at things like Twitter and Facebook and all those kind of social media things, there's everybody writing stuff all of the time, and most of it is junk, of course, because it's social media. But and cat memes and pictures of badly taken pictures of things. So there is an awful lot of content. Most of it isn't very good, but there's an awful lot of it. And then you've got the rise of the Amazons and iTunes and all the other media services that provide stuff to us. And there's a vast amount of content out there. I mean, when I grew up, you go along. The only way you could really get hold of books was to go to a bookshop or the library. What other way was there to get a book? There was no such thing as ebooks back then. You go to your library, you would browse along the sections that were interesting to you, i.e. the science fiction and fantasy sections for me. And that was a couple of bookcases in the library. And a bookshop would, the few that there were, would have books available. But again, a few shelves of books. And, you'd come back a few weeks later to see what had changed. And so new books that came out, will percolate quite slowly, for many, many long years. And then, of course, suddenly everything's online, and all sorts of stuff is, it's not so. The accessibility now is the problem has come. The accessibility is great. We can now get access to things much, much more straightforwardly. The amount of stuff that we can get access to is much, much greater, which is great as well. However, that does mean that the really, really good stuff is now sort of drowned in a sea of mediocrity as well. So it's tough now to find the good stuff, and you kind of have to rely on word of mouth recommendations and all sorts of things. And what is popular changes by all sorts of different whims. So there we go. There's not enough people wearing hats. Enough for what? Well, that's a very good question. It's just a general observation. More hats. Terry Pratchett used to wear a hat. Now a lot of people have said, "Okay, why are you doing Terry Pratchett?" And I said, "Well, I'm not. He whispers it very, very quickly under breath at the risk of annoying, ostracising lots of people. I'm not a great fan of Terry Pratchett. He's a bit of a Jesus figure to many people. He's like kind of the anointed one. I've got quite a few of his books, and I can appreciate, he's got some skill as a writer. I don't think he's brilliant. I think he's quite funny at times. So I wear a hat because I like wearing hats, not because I'm trying to be Terry Pratchett. Bring back hat stands. I say you never see a hat stand. I haven't. I ought to get myself a hat stand. That would be really good. And all the cat memes generate more watches and likes and serious posts. I know this. That is so odd today, isn't it? That's an observation about the society in which we live in. So if I've noticed that. I spend, I don't know, let's say a few weeks working on a map for my latest fantasy novel, which I have done, which is something I needed to do. Blah, 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 blah. And I put a tweet up saying I've just finished the map of my thing, which has probably taken me quite a few hours worth of work. Okay, I put it up there, and hashtag am writing fantasy, hashtag maps, hashtag whatever that was to be. Put that on Twitter. I've just finished my map for my latest fantasy novel. Yay! A few people go, yes, well done, blah, blah. It looks really good. I don't know. 15 likes or 27 likes or something like that. Now, I put up a picture of an amusing cat doing an amusing thing. 50 likes. Why? Dear. So, Chris Viking has got a hat stand. Excellent. Glenn says Isaac Arthur has spoiled. Oh, Isaac and Arthur. Have spoiled more than one idea of telling me how it's not just logical or possible. Yeah, well, what do they know? So there used to be a specialist sci-fi and fantasy bookshops until the abolition of the netbook agreement on the advent of Amazon. Yeah, so all sorts of things have gone by the wayside there. And I remember making almost pilgrimages to Forbidden Planet in London. Who remembers that? I mean, it's still going, but it hasn't quite got the same mystique perhaps nowadays as it used to have. Terry Pratchett never used a hat pin, so yeah, there we go. I've got that on him. But kind of be yourself. Don't ape anybody else. Just do what you feel is kind of comfortable for you. So kind of weird, really. So slowly pulling this back towards the topic of the evening. I should if I'm going to do a mime, I should really do it so the camera can see me, shouldn't I? Imperial Crusader says I still use a pith helmet. Okay, outside. Excellent. Very dangerous out there. So actually, in just a little bit of personal use, I was very pleased today. Some of you probably will have seen on Twitter and so on, that I got my latest manuscript back from the editor. Is there a topic? Says Glenn. Oh, come on, you've been here long enough to know there will eventually be a topic. We had a topic? No, we haven't got to the topic yet, Kelly Baglow. Come on. But I did get my manuscript back for my latest fantasy novel, which is, of course, Doomdark's Revenge, for those of you who don't know it. And I'm very pleased, actually, because I spent quite a lot of time editing it myself. It was the third draft. And those of you who know me will know when I write, even my first draft is quite well edited. From a perspective of does it make sense, because I already have a very, very rigorous plot outline. I'm a plotter. I'm not one of these pantsery types, so that's just me. So my first draft is probably quite well edited. My second draft is properly edited in the sense that, okay, all the plot holes hopefully have been resolved and stuff. My third draft starts looking at all the kind of actual prose and the grammar and the commas and all that kind of good stuff. So by the time it actually goes to the editor for the final draft, which is where I'm at now, I'm hopeful the editor doesn't find too much. And actually, my latest novel is by far the longest one I've ever written. And it's 170 words. 170 words, that's it. 170,000 words, which is huge, okay? And I don't recommend you necessarily try and write a novel of 170,000 words. It's a big story, and it needed to be that big. It's 20,000 longer than the book that came before it, and so it's a big chunky tome of a novel. It's a proper sci-fi, proper fantasy epic. And as a result, I was thinking, well, that's a big meaty tome for someone to edit. But I was really pleased when the editing came back and actually basically said, you've clearly been through this with a number of fine-tooth combs, because to be honest, I haven't really found much that really needs changing. And I was like, I was kind of, this was really good for me because I've basically been trying to go through and, do as much kind of proper editing as possible. And after having written 9 books and having observed the editing process over that time, I've become wiser to the sort of things that they pick me up on, when I was less experienced, and so I've tried to incorporate those in. So it's clearly paying off, which is a good thing. So the thing I've said before about this whole writing business, the more you do it, the better you get, is very true. So without hopefully blowing my own trumpet too much, I am getting better. So it was nice that when the edited draft came back, basically it came back yesterday actually, but I didn't get to it this morning. It only took me about 5 hours to do all the edits that I needed to do to then turn around the final manuscript and send it back to the publisher. So basically it's a day's work, and it's now gone back to the publisher. So we're in a position where we might be able to get the book out before Christmas, which will just be awesome, because we've been waiting like 2 and a bit years for the sequel to Lords of Midnight. So yeah, that's proceeding ahead at great pace. So I'm very pleased at that, to get my latest book out there, which is obviously a nice thing to get to the end of the process, for other people start reading it and enjoying it. So that's a good payoff for being a writer. So am I ready to reread the whole thing again? No. It's just a funny thing. I don't. This may surprise you actually. I never reread my books. I just, they're a thing that I've done, and because I know the stories really, really well, because I plotted them out, so I know what happens. So I don't really need to reread them, and I don't. So occasionally people quote things at me, and I go, "Oh, that's quite good. Where that's from?" And that's from your book. Oh, right. Thanks. But no, I don't go back. I always kind of look forward. The things that I've done. I wrote 2 Elite books. That's finished. I've done that. I wrote 4 Shadewood books. Done that. That's finished. Lords of Midnight is a bit of a strange one, because we've got a potential for 4 books. I've written 2 of them thus far, and those are based on existing computer games. Now the next 2 kind of aren't, because those computer games never actually came into existence, or kind of didn't properly come into existence. So it's slightly nebulous space for the next 2, but I'm sure we'll get there in the end. So that's a bit strange, but I'm now embarking on my next sort of sci-fi opera series, space opera stuff. So that's my next project, and I'm kind of getting into that now, which is quite exciting. It's good to have a new start. You shouldn't tell people you're a plotter in November, just saying. Excellent. Second-hand bookshops were brilliant. It's where I first picked up the entire Frank. You see, so second-hand bookshops and actually relations are quite good. I was given a copy of Anne McCaffrey's Dragonflight by my uncle when I was probably 15 or something like that, and he said, "You'll like this. This is your sort of book." He loved them as well, and I was absolutely captivated by this novel. So actually, other people giving you books was a real introduction to me. My dad introduced me to Arthur C. Clarke. My uncle introduced me to Anne McCaffrey and various other sort of sci-fi greats as well. So I've inherited a love of those sort of novels from my parents and from relations and stuff, and other friends of the family saying, "You'll like this," and once they hear that you're into those sort of things. So that sort of stuff is quite well. The other reason I suppose I don't read my own stuff is I've kind of like, I'm not sure if I want to start editing it again, which is a bad thing, because I can't now because it's been published. Let's push that into the next book. Chris Viking says, "If I ever meet you, I'm going to quote something out of you, and it'll be Sol's Zenith sign, just to mess with your head." Thanks. Dear, that's good. So that sort of stuff is how do you get access to things? But I'm personally, I've just got to a marker in my own kind of creativity now. I've just about signed off Doomdark's Revenge, which is like, whew, and then I can kind of leave that behind as another project finished, which is nice. I go through phases. Okay, the project starts, the project's in its mid range, and then the project's completing, and that piece of work is done, which is good. Drew's space opera. Are you going to sing now? That's right. Some enchanted spaceship. No, I'm not going to do that. That'd be very, very bad. We had a bookshop in town back in the day, but second-hand books you had to get from the books that had been removed from circulation at the library because they weren't checked out enough. Yeah, that's the poor thing about books, isn't it? They go through that phase of, okay, they're new, and then they end up in the second-hand bookshop and so on. So I've actually found, I think I told this story before, but I found a copy of one of my books at a second-hand bookshop. And I was like, oh, that's a weird feeling. My stuff's been out long enough that it's turned up in a second-hand bookshop. So I felt a bit sorry for my book, so I rescued it for like a quid. It was quite funny. So I just thought, oh yeah, I'm such an established author now that my books are in second-hand bookshops. Yay! So that's quite good. So that's all good. So JL 1988. Now JL 1988 had a special mention last week, and he gets a special mention this week because he's just literally published his first novel. So well done, Commander JL 1988, and From the Grave of the Gods. Very, very good book, and yeah, definitely worth reading out. So you know, if you're a writer on the stream, then do let me know, because if you just publish something, then then you get a shout out, which is all good, because we've talked about how difficult it is to get people to buy your books for all sorts of reasons. The amount of work. Okay, let's just big it up for us writers here for a moment. The amount of work that goes into a book is huge. All right, you probably spend, I don't know, up 3 months at the minimum, up to possibly a year, 2 years working on a book. Okay, on your word processor, and you're slaving away with your cups of tea and your cookies and whatever, and then you have to edit it, and you have to go through the pain of constructing it and typesetting it and doing the covers and blah 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 blah, blah, all the other stuff that happens. And then the moment it comes and you've published a book, yay! And it's there, it's a thing, it's a physical object that's got words in it and stuff, and it's on the shelf looking really, really good, and you go to a book sale convention or something like that, and put your books out, and people come along and they pick up your book and they go, 10 quid? That's a lot. And the inner writer in you is basically wanting to say, no, it bloody isn't. That's cheap, okay? That's ridiculously cheap for the amount of work I put into that thing. You could have 2 cups of coffee, or you could have hours of entertainment from my book. Buy it now and be grateful. But of course you can't say that. You sort of have to do the, and almost sort of the very British thing. Well, it's a. I'm sure you'll find it very interesting. I'm sure you'll like it. I'm sure you'll. All that sort of stuff. All the silly salesman. So getting people to buy a book after you've written it is not an easy task. The whole marketing and promotion, all that kind of stuff, is worthy of an entire stream on its own at some point. We will definitely go and do that. And different. You're quite right, Alan. Different types of art and creativity are different to appreciate. So, for example, like you say, you could spend the same amount of time on a painting, and people can. But the thing with a painting, of course, is people can look at it and go, "Wow, look at that." Whereas superficially, all books are the same, aren't they? They are a bunch of paper tied up with string. No, you know what I mean. They're just paper things, aren't they? With some words inside. The problem being that is, how do you differentiate the books from each other and make somebody interested? And that's where the cover comes into play, and the back blurb and all that sort of thing, the general look and feel of the thing. We've joked about it lots of times on this thing, and I'll do it again because it just makes me chuckle. You go to conventions and people are. You're trying to flog your books to punters, and as they pass by, go, would you like a copy of? And some people, will just say, no, I'm not into that genre or something. Other people will ask you about it and may end up buying a copy. Other people will, but there's a large percentage of people who will pick up your book, turn it around, look at the back, look at the front, and then flip through the pages, possibly even multiple times. As if they're looking for something that's unexpected. Like, I'm flipping this through backwards really, really quickly to sort of ascertain the quality of your writing somehow. I don't know, what are they looking for? They're flicking through the pages and they kind of put it down with, no, it's not for me. What? It always makes me laugh. Ah, dear, that's really funny. Rifles through the book is not. What have you done? What kind of quality test is that just flick backwards through a book really, really rapidly and go, yep, there's definitely some words in there. It's not for me. I appreciate they are words. But, dear, there we go. Wait a minute, Drew. Don't you go to science fiction and fantasy conventions? Well, this is the thing. Because there's science fiction and fantasy, and there's science fiction and fantasy is an awful lot of people who go to science fiction and fantasy conventions don't appear to read. And I was quite surprised by this because I went to a number of science fiction and fantasy conventions, thinking, they'll be interested in books, but. If you, I was quite surprised about it. I was next to a stall that was selling, I don't know what they were sort of, probably slightly illegal, sort of unofficial trinkets of memorabilia type stuff from Star Wars and Doctor Who and Star Trek, etc., etc. And I'm pretty sure that the proprietor of the stand next to me didn't have an official license from the powers that be to be selling said stuff, key rings and coasters and all sorts of stuff like that, with hand drawn, very good, but hand drawn copies of certain characters from certain famous sort of space and fantasy conventions. But lots of people were buying those sort of things for like £1 here, £1.50 there, and £2 for this, or maybe up to £5 for a set of things. That seemed to be quite a good thing. If you wanted an unofficial Doctor Who keychain, that seemed to be the place to go. Whereas trying to get somebody, trying to get that clientele interested in a science fiction book, which isn't Doctor Who or Star Trek or Star Wars, is an entirely different sales proposition, okay? So I'm not sure that science fiction and fantasy conventions are actually the best place to actually try and market new books, unless they're actually definitely billed as book conventions. And it's and that's one of the things I've kind of got on my list for 2022 is to actually go to various different conventions to try and sound out whether or not they're actually worth going to. And the only way to do that seems to be to actually go to them, if you like. So, there's all sorts of challenges in the whole convention thing. Chris Viking, if I flip through a book, it's usually to have a look at the style of writing. So I can understand, Chris, if somebody opens up, let's say, the prologue or chapter 1 and reads a paragraph or two and goes, actually, does this feel like the sort of book that I would enjoy? That makes more sense. But to just kind of rifle through it backwards and go, nope, I've seen books before, didn't agree with me. It's the writing of kicking the tire. It is. That's exactly what it is, Alan. It's the writing. Go round, kick the tyres of a car. Yep, that's the car for me. The tyres stayed inflated when I kick them. Dear. So, do book fairs still exist these days? Well, there are definitely science fiction and fantasy conventions. An awful lot of them aren't focused on books. And it's quite an impenetrable world, at least to an outsider it is. Now, I must admit, I haven't invested a vast amount of time in them yet. Because COVID kind of got in the way of me doing that. I started off in 2019. I went to a couple of them, and of course everything was cancelled. So I do need to find a bit more time, but I'm not sure they're necessarily the best place to go for book sales, but you've kind of got to start somewhere, because an awful lot of people knowing that you've got a book is being able to know that you've got a book, and you've got to get into the public somehow and do things. So there's I'm kind of looking at them as a sort of I need to invest some time in just being visible and out there, even if I don't sell very many books at these events, and I've got to kind of be seen to be seen, as it were, to kind of get my name out there a little bit in various different things. So I don't know. Sometimes I've been more successful than I expected, and sometimes it's kind of been tumbleweed. It's been quite strange. So all those things are a bit strange. Lots of sci-fi and fantasy fans are more interested in paraphernalia than books. Yeah, no. So but the other side of it is books appeal to certain types of people, and I don't know whether readership patterns are changing, whether they're decreasing, or what. That's something maybe that people on the stream can chip in with their own anecdotes of, because one thing I've been noticing from my just by because I track the revenue from my books on kind of monthly basis into a spreadsheet because I'm very anal like that, and it's just the way I do it. And I've spent a lot of time over the last couple of years, partly because of COVID and because I had to, making sure that my stuff's available on audiobook as well. And the sales of audiobooks are rocketing up. The sales of paperbacks are in a slow but gentle decline, and ebooks are sort of holding steady in the middle. And I don't know whether that's a pattern that other people see, but certainly for the stuff that I'm doing, audio seems to be far more popular, and increasingly so than the more traditional stuff. So I mean, that doesn't really bother me too much because I can convert my stuff to audio without too much trouble. But it is something I've noticed, and I wonder if it's just a changing demographic, whether people like to consume things in audio more nowadays because of time pressures and all the other bits and pieces, and people are more used to having an audio stroke video way of consuming stories than books. But I don't know, it's interesting just to kind of observe. JR1988 says, it's amazing how difficult it is to get people to even know you've got a book. There was a friend of mine who was following me all my social media channels, came up to me the other day and genuinely shocked because she'd no idea I was writing. And that's that's really hard to think. I mean, I've had that with my elite stuff, years down the road since I wrote it. 2014 was the first book, and then people come up to me, in the last year and go, "Hi, I didn't know you'd written an elite book. Where have you been?" And it's just like it's social media and promoting is a really hard thing, because you've got to kind of be out there and letting people know, but you've kind of also not got to get up people's noses with, oh, he's talking about his book again. You've got to find a happy balance between irritating people and letting people know that you've actually done a thing. So it's weird, yeah. I had the same experience a year or so more when we put the book out there. Like, what, you wrote something? It's like, really? Thumbs up for audio here, says Winnie. I prefer listening to actually reading. It's great to work on the computer whilst having a book on. So so that's a good thing. And a lot of writers are a bit kind of, audiobooks. No. I'm a serious writer. No. You've got to put that attitude away, because if you think about it, the first stories were told by audio, people telling stories to each other. So the book is a coding mechanism for stories. Okay. So audiobooks are arguably the purest form of storytelling, I would argue. It's a little bit kind of arse about face now, the way we do it, because I write a story for book first and then convert it to Audible. But maybe I should think about doing it the other way around. I just haven't done that yet. That's another skill set. There are a lot of skill sets to master here. It's a big chunky topic of all sorts of technical skill. Those of you who've been following this stream for a long time will know all about writing in terms of point of view, characterization, description, adverbs, fronted adverbials, commas, grammar, all that sort of stuff is something you've got to master. Then you have to get to editing. Then you actually have to have a style that's all of your own and a decent story and plot and all those kind of things. And that's just to get the book to a point where it can be edited. That doesn't count you going into the whole audio side of the world, where you've got to turn that into something that somebody actually will want to listen to, all those kind of things. There's a lot of technical skills to master. Fortunately for writing, if you've got a decent grasp of a reasonable word processor like Google Docs or Word or something, or Scrivener, whatever your tool of choice is, then most people are okay mastering that sort of stuff. But you've still got to be able to write and understand the rules of grammar and all those kind of things. But if you want to turn it into an audiobook, then you've got a whole stack load of other stuff, microphones and sound deadening and everything else that goes with it, and that's before you get to the whole promotion side of putting yourself out there and trying to let people know that you've got a book. And getting people to review it, and that's a big struggle. For every 100 people who read your book, you might get one person who's prepared to actually review it online, and that's just one of those things. It just seems to be really, really tricky. The Return the Verbal Storyteller then just transcribe it. Well, maybe that would work. I don't know. I don't know if I could do that actually. Tell a story from scratch, just off the cuff. Yeah, maybe I should try that one day, but I don't know. That'd be quite hard work. It's there's a lot of stuff, and I think the whole process of writing a book is a lot of hard work. It's a lot of hard work, and the vast majority of people won't appreciate it, I'm afraid. I do need some reviews to start coming in. Yeah, so I will definitely do one for you, Jehan, and definitely that's on my list of things to do. But so and reviews to a writer are gold dust. They really are gold dust, because partly it's a kind of I reached somebody read my stuff, yay! And they reacted to it, even if they didn't like it. A review. At least somebody read it, so that's good. And obviously a positive review was even more a pleasant surprise, because like somebody read it and they liked what I wrote. That's very edifying for a writer. I must admit, I like reading reviews, particularly when they're a bit more in depth. I mean, you do get the reviews which are kind of like, yeah, it was a good book. You're kind of like, okay, thanks. But the reviews which basically go into some detail about, I really liked it when the so and this one kept me guessing, and and this bit was really kind of, they made me cry, and all that sort of stuff. It's those are nice, but it's very hard to get reviews. It really is, a hard thing to get readers to review a book. Some people will do it for you, obviously, but the vast majority won't. I mean, I've totaled up that I've probably sold somewhere in the order of about 25,000 books in my time, which isn't small, but it isn't huge either. In the sort of 10 years I've been doing this, so that's certainly no anywhere near bestsellers. But I've got reliable numbers that suggest that 25,000 people ish, have at least read my books once, and that's not anybody who's then picked up the copy that's been bought and shared it to anybody else. So it could be higher than that, but I certainly haven't got 25,000 reviews. I've got way less than 500 in total from that entire readership. So that gives you an idea of the ratio between readers and reviewers is very, very low, that's. There seems to be not much you can do about it other than please review my book. So there we go. Sean O'Connor says, I think you need to come up here to Orkney in late October to our storytelling festival. That sounds fun. See professional tellers of tales in action and even have a go yourself. So that sounds excellent. Yes, I wouldn't mind doing that. Chris Viking says, I was told by my mum that she liked my story, and you've always had a talent for writing, and my feeling was just, well, it wouldn't have been nice if you told me at some point. Some encouragement would have been good. Exactly, yes. I wouldn't actually say that to her, but I was a bit like, now you tell me, 25 years of work, and now you tell me. It's those things are hard, and it's quite, it's quite soul destroying as well. I fear for many writers. When you've slogged your guts out for a long, long time. You created a book, you've published it. Whichever publishing route you've taken, whether it's self-publishing or indie publisher or the traditional kind of agent stroke major publisher, whatever the route is to getting your book out there. When it's out there and then a few people have read it, and then you get like a handful of reviews, and that's kind of it. And the only thing I can say to you, really, in those situations, is you've just got to keep going. Okay, you've just got to keep going. Because it's incredibly, incredibly rare for somebody to write a single book just out of the gates, if you like, and be incredibly successful. It does happen. But it's rare. It's against the odds, let's say. And you're going to be better served if you're serious about wanting to do this long term, to just crank out another book. Just keep cranking out another book, because every time you do that, the chances of your readership growing are going to be doubled for the second book. 50% up for the third book, and so on and so forth down the line. The more examples of your work that you can get out there, the more chance you've got of snagging somebody who goes, oh, I like that one, and then they'll read the others as well. So all that sort of stuff is it's a kind of rolling thing that slowly builds up your momentum. But you've got to come out with new stuff, and hopefully the new stuff you come out with is good as well. Does that include the number book you should put yourself in the second-hand shop? Yeah, not sure about that. Haunted Lev. I think I would have considered it rather presumptuous to send an author a review of their book. Probably a lot of lay people. Well, that's an interesting perspective, actually, Haunted Lev. Thank you for that. Yeah, I think I would have considered it rather presumptuous to send an author a review of their book. This is the funny thing, actually. So maybe there's a perception thing there. I hadn't even thought of that. That's a good observation. Whereas actually, authors are desperate for people to review their books, just to say anything about them. Any kind of buzz is good. What an author or a writer is expecting from a review is, what did you think of the book? Nothing more, nothing less. It doesn't need to be dignified prose. It doesn't need to be an in-depth breakdown and critique of the book. It's just, did you like it? Which bits did you like? Which bits didn't you like? What did you think of it? Did it make you laugh? Did it make you sad? Did it make you happy? What response did the book give you? That's what authors are wanting their readers to provide in the reviews, not like a school essay critique of a book. Just, did you like it? Kind of is the bare minimum. Or no, I hated it. It was horrible. That is a review. That's okay. One of my favourite reviews of one of my books was basically, damn it, Drew, this kept me up all night. I got no sleep at all. I enjoyed the book though, it was good. And I had another one where this book made me miss my train. Because I was so absorbed in chapter 7, the train came and went and I didn't even notice. That's a brilliant review, okay? That sort of stuff is exactly what an author wants to hear. So there we go. But that's interesting that maybe people are put off reviewing things because it feels presumptuous. That's an interesting thing. Ajija's subscribed with Prime. Thank you very much for the subscribe. Ajija, much impressed. Much appreciative, that's what I meant to say. Jayan, reviews are primarily for readers though. Just putting them out there helps authors by extending the word of mouth. It's not about inflating our egos, though. Yeah, so it's nice to have your ego inflated because actually writers are egos, okay, covered with a thin veneer of humanity. We do like our egos stroked quite a bit. That's very healthy for us, anyway. But yeah, no, it is for other readers. We would like, if it is for other readers actually. I suppose the main purpose of reviews is, if somebody picks up, and particularly if you're a new writer, okay, but you're just trying to get out there, and why would somebody buy your book when nobody else has reviewed it and it's sitting there, in the Amazon search results alongside many other books that have lots and lots and lots of other reviews? Why would somebody buy your book? So the review helps to steer other readers towards it. And you say, well, I read this book by Alan or Drew or whoever it happens to be, and it kind of reminded me of it was a bit sort of Isaac Asimov in bits, but other parts of it were like Anne McCaffrey or it was a bit Tolkien-y actually in these particular bits. I quite like that. I mean, it's got its limitations here and this other sort of stuff, but overall I thought it was good fun to read. That's a brilliant review, okay, because people go, okay, well, I quite like Tolkien, or I quite like Asimov, or I quite like whatever happens to be. So maybe I'll give this one a whirl and just sort of see if I like it. And it entices people in. So reviews like that are really, really key. That's why authors are so keen to get reviews, because it helps people who like that sort of a story to find the story. Because otherwise it's, nobody believes the marketing, right? Everybody's really suspicious of marketing. This is the best book ever! That book that you read last week, it's just nowhere near as good as this one. This one's going to change your life. This one's going to make the tea. It's going to pay off your mortgage. It's going to fix all your problems. Marketing is just junk, right? We all know that. Whereas a review is somebody who's actually taken the trouble to read your book and put their thoughts down as to what's actually in the book. This book was pretty good. I quite enjoyed it. It's not the best book I've ever written, but it was all right. And if you like the sort of story that goes along like this and this sort of happens, it's good. It's passable. It's fun. It's it was worth $2.99 or $5.99 or whatever the price was. You can go buy it. I thought it was pretty good, and that is useful to other readers, and therefore it's useful to the writer, because if somebody else buys it, of course, then the author gets to buy himself a meal that day, which is an important part of the whole conversation. So that's good. And that's a great comment. I've had a couple. One person missed One person missed his train and I didn't get on it. Another person missed his stop and didn't get off the train. Ended up in the wrong part of the country and blamed it on me, which was, I was like, yes. I felt really sorry for him. But occasionally, the other thing is occasionally you'll get a really poignant review. And I've got one actually. It was on my wall. I'm not quite sure what I've done with it. I'd framed it because I liked it. Basically said, thank you, Drew. These books of yours have been a candle in the darkness as I've traversed a really difficult, dark period of my life. Thank you. And I've got no way to contact that individual because I don't know who they are. But that's what they said. Your books have been a candle in the dark in a difficult part of my life. Thank you. And I was like, oh, you're just kind of like, ugh. And you've touched somebody in some sort of way and provided them some comfort because you wrote a thing. That's a big deal. Okay, that's a big deal. Haunted loaf between the two of them. They make one successful journey. That's exactly right. And Chris, you're quite right. Comparative reviews often help. So I've had a few people say Drew writes like Anne McCaffrey, which I'm not always sure is a helpful thing, but I kind of see what they mean. And I've been very much inspired by Anne McCaffrey, so I do appreciate that sort of thing. But I don't know if an awful lot of Anne McCaffrey fans would also say, oh yes, I'm a Drew Wagar fan. Or whether that's just people's way of expressing the sort of books that, the sort of stories and things that I write. So that sort of thing is definitely useful. So if you are a reader and you're wanting to help out an author that writing reviews of their books is a very good thing. So please do. Please write reviews. It's really good. Wow, that's an awesome review. So yes, that was a particularly nice one. I have had a few others in that vein. I think you just catch people sometimes, and I've had books that I've read in difficult periods of my life, and they have provided pure escapism from the troubles of the day sometimes. And I've been in situations where I've been reading a book and then I've just had a really crappy day at work for whatever reason, and I've got on the train home and think, I've got an hour and a half now when I can just go to a fantasy realm and all the problems disappear. And that's such a nice thing to be able to do. That's the joy of books and stuff, and so that's really, really good. The number of stars to give a review is difficult to decide. Yeah, so that's a difficult one. I mean, typically if you do on Amazon, they have a 5-star system, and lots of places do have 5 stars. You have to be a bit careful with those because people tend to gravitate to the top or the bottom of those. It's usually the 4, 3 and 2-star reviews are actually more revealing because people have sort of taken a bit of time to think about their review. The 5-star reviews, it's lovely to get 5-star reviews, and any author who gets a 5-star review is going to put it on Twitter going, hey look, me, I got a 5-star review, I'm brilliant. We're just going to do that. Okay, 5-star reviews are good. But quite often the other ones are a bit better. The other thing you do occasionally suffer from is 1-star reviews where you get caught out by something. I got a 1-star review for one of my books which basically said, didn't mean to click on this, bought it in error, can't get my money back, 1-star, rubbish. It's not my fault. So now I've got one of my books that's got a 1-star review because you clicked on the wrong button. So you do suffer from some less than capable reviewers, I'm afraid. So when I'm considering a book to buy, I almost never read the 5 stars. It's difficult. I mean, some 5-star reviews are on the money. I tend to read the reviews actually to sort of see what kind of quality review it is. And if the review makes sense and it's kind of cogent, then I'll perhaps read it. If it's a kind of, this book is awesome, 5 stars, or this book is fab, 5 stars, that doesn't count very much. But if it's a decent paragraph of, this book is really good, it does this, this sort of characterization was first class, I really enjoyed this sort of stuff, but compares it to other works that I know, that's a worthwhile review regardless of the star rating. So have I reviewed a book? I have. I do review books quite regularly. I'm a fairly harsh reviewer. I rarely give out a 5-star. I'll quite often give out a 3 or a 4. And I haven't given out a 2. I don't think I've ever given out a 1 star, but 2, 3, and 4 is my normal territory for rating books. So I read the lowest reviews and toss out any of them that are stupid. Yeah. Some of them are really, really stupid. I mean, my wife and I always joke that we've got this little, it's got nothing to do with books, by the way. We've got this little, tiny little printer that prints labels, okay? And that's its job. It's a label printer, okay? Its entire purpose in life is to print labels. So, at printing labels, it excels. And we bought this label printer because we had a need to print some labels, okay? And we've had it for many, many years, and it still works very, very well. It's a Dymo label printer. It prints labels, okay? It's very good at printing labels. Don't ask it to do anything else because that's not its forte, okay? It's a label printer which prints labels. It's extremely really good at printing labels. So hopefully that's cleared up any kind of confusion about the purpose of this particular device. However, if you look at some of the reviews on it, you'd never buy this poor label printer because it doesn't print anything but labels, says some of the reviews. You just want to pound your head against the screen of your laptop. You just say, what did you expect? Quite limited, doesn't print anything other than labels. Unable to print postcards. It's not a postcard printer, it's a label printer. Excellent. Oh God. We live on the same planet as these things. So there we go. And so you will get some odd reviews. The other type of reviews actually to watch out for are the rather wacky ones. I mean, I've had this a few times where somebody in the midst of some very complicated political situation will read into your work some analysis of whatever weird political social situation they're in at the time, and then either they'll have found some hidden meaning to your text that you didn't even know was there, or they'll complain at you for basically trivializing the political situation they're in by the subtext of whatever you've written, neither of which you are guilty of, but they will tell you in no uncertain terms that you either are or aren't guilty of said thing in the review. I've had that a number of times where I even had somebody come up to me once and said, "Yeah, that section of Shadewood where you did the so and so and so and so. Oh yeah. Yes, that was a damning critique of the the political situation in South Africa in the early 1990s, wasn't it?" And I'm like, I'm not sure what the safe answer is here. So you will get the odd ones. So there we go. Glenn's always said, I've always written a reason for the review. Yeah, it's if you're going to give a 1 star or a 2 star, you need to justify, I feel. And ideally it should be about the source material. And any hotel has reviews saying it's fantastic, another says it's the worst place in the world. It's down to the individual. Yeah, we all have different perceptions of how those things work. I don't think I got lower than a 4 with the reviews I've written. I got lucky in what I've been reading so far, I think. And just quote Tolkien's line about allegory, yes. That's probably good advice, actually. Buying from Amazon or eBay, any company that emails me asking for a review is sure never to get one. So this is the tough thing. We want reviews, but we don't want to beg for reviews. It's hard, but reviews are very important for authors to let other people know that there's a book that they might like to buy. One of the hardest things for an author, particularly if they're not well known, which of course is where everybody starts, is to basically say, I'm here, I've written a book and it's good, you'll enjoy it. Well, and trying to convince somebody that probably will like. Let's take an average punter who comes along who actually would like your book. Okay, if they read it. Trying to persuade them it's worth them spending some money on your book when they don't know in advance whether or not they're going to like it or not is a hard thing to do. Okay, it just is, because they're taking all the risk. They might buy your book for £5 or £10, whatever it is, and they might not like it at all. In which case they've kind of wasted £5 or £10 from their perspective. Whereas you, the author, going, "Ha, I've sold the book." But that's so that, So the other thing to I think authors have to be very conscious of is that when you're selling a book or talking about your book, you've kind of got to be as straightforward and open about it as you can be when people are asking you questions. I've seen a few authors who go, "Well, you need to read it." Okay, I'm not going to stand here and talk to you about what's in it because you should read my book. I'm not going to buy it from somebody like that. Okay, I'd much rather have an interaction. "Well, what's your book about?" "Well, it's sort of like this, and this sort of stuff happens." And if the author's happy to chat away from it a little bit, not too salesy, of course, which is the other fine tuning here. It's very difficult, very, very difficult. There should be a guide to what the stars mean. Well, we'd have to all agree on that, though. That would be very difficult, wouldn't it? 3 a good read, 4 really good, 5 absolutely fantastic, couldn't put it down. So, see, the other thing is some people say, "I will never give a 5 because a 5 has to be genre changing." Okay, it has to redefine the genre. Very, very few books are going to do that. Tolkien may have achieved it. Maybe Arthur C. Clarke on occasion. Asimov. Modern ones, I don't know, James S.A. Corey, maybe they would be kind of 5-star reviews. Or is that just a measure of a success or visibility? I don't know. What do the 5 stars mean? It's going to mean different things to different people. John, I think it's exactly said that. There's the problem. Everyone has a different scale. For some, 3 out of 5 is a terrible feel. I mean, if I got 3 stars for one of my books, and I get 3-star reviews. I get 2-star and 1-star reviews as well, so it happens. But the 3-star review feels to me like must try harder. Okay, kind of okay, but you could have done better. So if somebody gives me a 3-star review, I read it with a perception I didn't really entertain that reader well enough. Whereas a 4-star review is probably the sweet spot because it basically means here's a critical reviewer who did like the book. 5-star reviews, of course, are quite nice because they're kind of good for the numbers, but they tend to be less critical. Whereas a 4-star review usually means that you hit the nail on the head, but here's a reader who has high standards. That's how I read it. That may not be right, but that's kind of how I would read it. Kelly Baglass says genre changing. No, it doesn't. It needs to be a ripping good yarn. So you see that there's Kelly Baglass' take on what the numbers. And I would agree with those. It just needs to be a really, really good book that you enjoy. That's a 5-star book. That makes sense as well. One thing that makes me laugh is giving half stars when using a scale out of 5. I'm going to go to decimal points because that's how precise my review is going to be. Okay, just use a whole scale out of 10 and stick with whole numbers. No, 3.5. I'll give you 3. I'm not going to give you 7 out of 10, but 3.5 out of 5. I'll give you. Yeah. So so that's. I don't know what do those numbers mean. It's difficult. All of these things are things that writers and authors have to contend with, and it's an odd relationship between writers and readers in that sense. The author is struggling to get her name out there, build a bunch of people who like the sort of stuff that they write, and they will have also. And we've talked in the past on this stream about what is success for you as a writer. Some people say, I want to be a bestseller, I want to be rich, I want to be famous, I want to be on the cover of Vogue or whatever, in the Time magazine, whatever it happens to be. Others are basically saying, no, I'm pretty happy if I just get the book out there and a few people read it, and I'm job done. Other people just say, no, I just like writing. Whether it gets turned into a book, I'm not all that bothered about. Everyone's got their own definition of success as well, so so that's quite interesting too. Sean, sorry Drew, fellow wafflers, but I have to be up at the crack of Sparrow's fart in the morning, so I best retire at night. Take care, Sean. I've got to be up early as well tomorrow, which is going to be a bit annoying, but sort of stuff. So at the end of the day, it's subjective. I read some highly praised novel which I've won Hugo Nibble Awards, which I didn't like at all. Well, Wintermute, that's another thing that's very, very true. Is I've read a few books with thousands of positive reviews, and I've read them and I've gone, well, they're okay. I wouldn't think that they were great, but they were okay. I would probably give it a 3, but 2,000 5-star reviews says otherwise. And you look at these things and wonder, did this author figure out some social media trick? Were they in the right place at the right time? Are the reviews genuine? All this question sort of run through your head as to how certain books seem to jump ahead and certain books just don't. It's a tough one. I don't know. 1 star, the paper is worth more than the words. That's Tim Tisquid. I'm going to give it pi stars, says Kelly Baglar. Excellent, 3.14 stars, just to be very precise. Soul Shinery says, I'll take the rich and famous without the Vogue mag. Thanks. Yeah, no problem. And maybe without the famous. Yeah, being famous is definitely a double-edged sword. To be honest, I'm by no stretch of imagination famous, but having a certain notoriety in certain circles, I think is probably fair enough for me, is annoying. Okay, to be recognised, in general public, i.e. the fact you couldn't walk down the high street and go for a burger or pop into a shop and pick up some dry cleaning or something, or whatever it happens to be that you need to do, to not be able to go to your local supermarket without going, oh, it's so and so, that I would hate that. I don't know how famous people cope with that kind of stuff. That would really wind me up, not being able to go out and have some privacy. So no, certainly for me, fame would not be what I was after. Filthy, massive, great bundles of cash. Yeah, I could probably cope with that. But fame, I'm not quite so sure. Would be quite good. The rich by writing novels phenomenon is actually very recent in writing history. Yes, Age of Despair, that's very true. And an awful lot of people have written books to make social change and various other bits and pieces. The celebrity author now is like you say, quite a modern construct. Chris Viking says, a book doesn't need to be brilliant to be enjoyable. I have an Audible gotten to know the books of Douglas Freeman. He's pretty formulaic, but I really enjoy his books. He's very much the main character as a military man of honour, often not seen as prominent and deserves to be, sent on a dangerous mission, also finds his love on the side. They're not very original, but they're solid. And I think that there's a lot to be said for that. There's lots of examples of formulaic stories that get trotted out again and again and again. I mean, Clive Cussler has made a massive following over those kind of things, and his books are effectively the same story each time. But people are comfortable with that because they kind of know what they're getting. Okay, they know they're going to have big escapes. They know they're going to have difficult odds. They know they're going to have a mystery to solve. They know they're going to have a bit of romance, love interest in there, and it's all going to get resolved at the end with a big kind of explosive finale where everything looks like it's really, really desperate up to the last minute, and then the hero saves the day. That's a comforting thing to read. You know what you're getting. You're not being challenged too much. It's pleasant to have a book like that where you can kind of indulge yourself in what's going to happen, knowing that it will actually all be successfully resolved by the end. That's very comforting. That's a warm blanket of reading. I completely understand why that is a thing. People don't necessarily always want to be shocked by an unexpected ending. That's not always desirable for an awful lot of readers. David Eddings' books are very full. I must admit, I read the Belgariad, isn't it, David Eddings? I remember hearing about the Belgariad when I was a teenager, but I never got round to reading it. And it was almost sort of this legendary epic series. And I was like, oh, the Belgariad, I really must get round to reading that one day. And then I did read it, probably about 10 years ago now. And I remember being completely underwhelmed by it because I'd kind of hyped it up in my head that it was this incredibly epic series, and it kind of wasn't. But So but like you say, formulaic. If you know something and it's comforting, and you know what you want, then that's the thing as well. And nostalgia plays a big part in this as well. I mean, I've literally, like I said earlier on, I've just finished Doomdark's Revenge, which is is in some ways a formulaic fantasy novel. It's based on a 1984 computer game, so it's from a different era, and it's got your usual good guys versus bad guys kind of trope going on with magic swords and things, and the ending is already known, kind of, the because it's set in the lore of that game series, so everybody knows how the story ends. It's just the process of getting there. It's the journey. Okay, the journey is the fun thing, not necessarily the conclusion, which you kind of already know. That's a comforting thing to enjoy. How are we going to get to the end? Because are there going to be adventures and scrapes along the way? Of course there are. The hero trope is a very comforting type of storytelling, and sometimes you just got to go where everyone knows your name. And Jan, I think sometimes you just need something comfortable to read. I completely get that. I mean, I've got books that I will read again and again just because it's the right time of year to read them, or I just fancy reading that again because I know how it goes, but I just enjoy the process of reading. And there's an odd switch in your head as a reader that you can switch on, and basically, even though you've read this book 1,000 times before, somehow it's still fresh, which is a bit weird because you know exactly what's coming up next, but it still feels okay to read it even though you know what's happening. But I don't know, it's weird that. So that is a bit strange. There's lots of all sorts of good ideas, and David Eddings and various other bits and pieces. The other one I liked is Terry Brooks with his Magic Kingdom for Sale Sold series. I want to read those again. It's been a long time since I've read them, and I have fond memories of reading those because they were sort of not too serious fantasy novels, which I rather enjoyed. And I remember them from a particular time when I was young and I wasn't very well, so I associate them with getting better. So things like a certain sense of nostalgia, I think, can play into those kind of things. I don't know. It's a difficult one. I've only read the first book in that series, but I've absolutely loved it as a child. I don't know how much further it went. I think there were at least 3 books. Magic Kingdom for Sale sold. Yeah, I remember there were definitely 3 books. I'm not quite sure whether it went on from there or not. I don't recall, but I'm going to have to look it up at some point if I can find it. They were just nice, comfortable, friendly fantasy books. Glenn says, I'm afraid to reread a few novels that I read as a kid, afraid not as good as I recall. Now that's interesting. It's very patchy. That's very patchy. I found that some books I read as a child really do hold up well as an adult, and in some ways I've got more out of them reading them as an adult than I did as a child, because I've gone through them and gone, ooh, wow, that was interesting in the context of the time, which as a child I just would skip straight past. And other books I've gone, no, this really is just quite childish, and I can see why I liked it when I was 8, but now it just doesn't really hold together. One book in particular is there's my favourite, probably one of my favourite children's books is a book called Dog's Body by Diana Wynne Jones. And Diana Wynne Jones was obviously passed on now, but she was a brilliant young adult author, and I read this book as a child and enjoyed it for its sort of mix of mythical, fantasy, sciencey, spacey sort of blend of concepts. Basically the premise is that a godlike being, Sirius, is turned into a dog as a punishment and has to live out his life on Earth, and he's basically the pet of a young girl. And it's a very clever story, actually. It's worth reading. But what I didn't expect reading it back as an adult is that the young girl her name is Kathleen, and she's Irish, living in as an adopted child in an English home, during it's kind of set, I suppose, in the late 70s, early 80s, when of course the tensions in Ireland between Southern Ireland and Northern Ireland and Great Britain were at absolute height. And reading it back as an adult, I noticed, I was thinking, good grief, the racism and the anti-Irish sentiment that's coming out, but not from Diana Wynne Jones, but through the characters in this story, completely passed me by as a child. Completely passed me by. Whereas an adult, I'm thinking, good grief, they're horrible to this poor girl. And I just thought they didn't like her. Reading it as a child, I just thought, they don't like her. They're just being nasty. But when you read it as an adult, you realise that Diana Wynne Jones has highlighted the plight of this poor Irish girl at the hands of these English bullies, and it's racism. It's just plain and simple racism in the story. And I'm certainly not saying that Diana Wynne Jones was racist. She's highlighting the plight of this poor girl in a way that I, as a child, I didn't notice, but as an adult, I'm reading it going, wow. And it rings true, So it's interesting sometimes reading books back as an adult, because there's often a lot more in them than I realised at the time as a child reading them. So not all the time, but quite often. Chris Viking, definitely there are certain books or book series I really love reading over and over again. The Deed of Park Centre, owned by Elizabeth Moon, is extremely good. So definitely recommended her books if you haven't read them. The Empire Trilogy by Raymond E. Feist, yes, very good. Both of those series I can read over and over again. I just love them to bits. Not to mention kick-ass female characters. Yes, and that's good. Memorable characters of any genre and any gender is always good. I feel like I'm going to have to read the Asterix books again. Asterix, yes. Remember being blown away. Yeah, they were really good. I like the old Tintin books, actually. They're surprisingly pithy at times. They're quite fun to read. So there's good things. Anyway, so after talking about reviews and authoring and all sorts of things, I've never even got to the topic of the evening, so we'll shelve that for next week. See how we go. But it's been a good waffle this evening. I think we've done a peak waffle again. So I will sign off shortly. But thank you very much again for your company this evening. I hope if you're a prospective author, you found it interesting. If you're a prospective reader and wondering what all these authors are talking about, I hope you found that interesting too. It's always a pleasure to have a good waffle on the Monday evenings. But yeah, so I suppose in closing then, just keep at it, my friends. Just keep at it. This writing thing is a curious blend of magic and perspiration and hard work. And all I can say to you is embrace it. If you feel a calling to write stuff, just go with it, because you have to. The world needs your story, all right? The world needs your story. So so there we go. Excellent stuff. Right, excellent waffles. Well, I'll come to this place again. No, excellent. I'm glad you like the waffles. The waffles are excellent. We have waffled the topic on again. Thanks for streaming. No problem at all. It's always a pleasure. Shadow Wyman. Aegis Bearer, thanks, Drew. You've been a wonderful company too. Oh, appreciate that, Aegis Bearer. That's very, very kind of you. Thanks for stream, Drew. No problem at all. And yes, so we'll be back on Thursday for more No Man's Sky. Back on Saturday mornings now for Wing Commander 2, the playthrough. Very tragic on Saturday. lost my wingman. Very, very bad. Good story though. Good story. So that was quite good. And stay tuned, those of you who are Doom Dark's Revenge Lords of Midnight fans, for more news. We're hoping to have the paperback out before Christmas, which will be absolutely awesome news if we can manage it. So full steam ahead on that one. I will keep you posted as to how that was progressing. So hopefully we'll have some good news on that. And I think I'll probably do a Doom Dark's Revenge stream at some point, just to kind of, what the heck is this all about, for those who are uninitiated. So because it's an interesting story in its own right, that computer game. So we'll probably do that at some point. But anyway, for now, take care, my friends. I've got an early start and some travelling to do for the next couple of days. So I'll probably be offline on social medias for a bit, but I will see you back on Thursday. You guys have a fantastic week ahead. Take care of yourselves. Be good. Write on as always, and look after yourselves. Have a fantastic week, and I will see you soon, my friends. Bye bye now. Take care.